The Gospel of Gold by G.S. Lewis. Chapter 40. Hope Rekindled. A pet cemetery lay behind Olivine City's Pokemon Center, consistent with the trend that other league-sponsored locations had set years ago. Jasmine had frequented this yard of roughly hewn grave markers long before its sudden expansion. In a line of work involving consistent battling, it was inevitable that some accidents would prove fatal to the combatants. Of the Pokemon buried here, 1 belonged to her, and 7 to her challengers. Gold knew none of this when Will had first warped him back to the empty Poké Center. He simply gazed through the rear window as mourners gathered around Jasmine to watch the Undertaker dig. In the short time they had been away, an impromptu funeral had somehow come together for Olivine's lighthouse Pokemon. A lot of people, it seemed, had been invested in Amphi's state of health, and while his death had saddened them, it did not come as a surprise. Still, Gold wondered at the speed of it. "Did we lose some time between teleports?" he asked, watching as a sailor rolled out a cart of folding chairs. "No," replied Will, with an edge in his voice. "Ariana arranged for this to be done as quickly as possible, lest the Pokemon's body was allowed to be closely examined for cause of death. Once it's in the ground, no decent person would allow for it to be exhumed again. There might have been a cremation, but Jasmine would not have stood for that." Gold shook his head in disgust. To his enemies, this Pokemon was nothing but evidence that needed burying. Trying to focus on his curiosity instead of his anger, he asked, "Why not cremation?" Will pointed through the window towards Jasmine, who was crying into an elderly gentleman's arms, facing away from them. "Jasmine's a gym leader who specializes in steel types. They're pretty vulnerable to fire, and a challenger burned one of them to death once." Gold grimaced with horror, but Will remained impassive. "That's just how it is sometimes," he stated. "The only reason Karen's kept her on is because of how many Pokemon Jasmine's team has killed. On the surface, she's a meek girl, but underneath, there's a steel-cold resolve that even I find a little unsettling." Before Gold could ponder the paradox of Jasmine's actions, bearing, and history, Will gave him a dismissive wave. "Don't overthink it. Karen sees what she wants to see, but beneath the iron will is, again, the soft-spoken, gentle creature you see out there. Jasmine very much wishes to hold back on her opponents, but you know how Steelix are." He gave Gold a knowing look. "They're like freight trains. Once they make a move, there's no stopping that. You dodge, or you die." Gold found himself reluctantly agreeing with Ariana in one regard. It was creepy how much Will could know about people, just from being in close enough proximity to their minds for a few minutes. "So," Gold said, "why doesn't she just quit?" "Simple. She knows that if she does, Karen will replace her with somebody who really doesn't hold back." Will put his hands in his pockets. "Being a gym leader isn't always what you signed up for. Jasmine's hurt a lot of Pokemon. With Amphi, she finally had a chance to do good for one. She really could have used that win." Outside, 4 new arrivals had entered the scene, hauling a casket-sized box between them. The 2 in front were bipedal frog-like Pokemon, which Gold could identify as Politoed and Poliwrath. 2 humans bore the load in the back, a man in a sailor uniform and a police officer. Gold noted with concern that the latter was the same man who had accompanied Ariana to arrest him. He had little doubt that the box contained Amphi's body, and suspected the officer was there to make sure it was properly put under. "Will," he said, pointing the policeman out. "I need to know something. Is that guy another undercover operative for Team Rocket?" The psychic elite did not answer right away, choosing rather to continue watching out the window. "Will, does it matter?" Will responded curtly. He seemed suddenly agitated. "Would you let it stop you if he was? I brought you here so that I could witness what you promised to show me. Chit-chat time is over, Gold. Now it's showtime." His demeanor had become cold and dangerous, and Gold remembered that they were far from allies. If this stunt went sideways, it would reflect catastrophically upon the elite, who should have delivered his prisoner long ago. He was taking a calculated gamble with maximum tolerable risk. No doubt, he would read the resulting situation and play it out in whatever way best suited Will's side. However, Gold took one small grain of comfort as he pushed open the Pokemon Center's rear door. Will had not factored out the possibility that he really could work miracles. Part of him still wondered, and perhaps that seed of wonder could be nourished.